Be sure to follow me on Twitter. There you can keep up with all the updates from Comics Explained and talk to me directly. What's going on, Comic Nation? This is Rob. And in an effort to make sense of Time Runs Out, and an effort to basically give you guys a solid understanding of the basis behind Time Runs Out, what we're going to do here is we're going to jump in and explain the very early days of Earth 616. We're going to use a sort of modified history as a combination of what Marvel had already established, as well as what Jonathan Hickman had modified to more or less give us this well-rounded origin. And the reason behind this is because in Earth 616, with regards to Time Runs Out and the end of the Marvel multiversal continuity, these elements are extremely important for understanding what this all means, of how this all fits together. So first things first, what we know is that it's somewhere along the line in the history of Marvel Comics in general, that is to say all the universes that have ever existed, that the One Above All came into existence. And we don't really know how exactly this happened, and in fact the One Above All, in a lot of ways, people usually attribute to either being Jack Kirby or Stan Lee with regards to the advent of the Marvel Universe. But the fact remains that the One Above All can best be explained as a prime mover, that the One Above All is the absolute power and the absolute authority within the realm of all universes that have ever existed, can ever exist, or do currently exist in the Marvel Comics. So if the One Above All is effectively God in the Marvel Universe, then the Living Tribunal is the hand of God. And what I mean by that is the Living Tribunal, because the One Above All is largely hands-off, the Living Tribunal exists to carry out the will of the One Above All, to ensure that there's no imbalance in terms of the cosmos, that every universe maintains its balance in terms of who's in power and how the universe functions. But here's some really good examples. During the Infinity Gauntlet storyline, one of the most popular storylines both here on my channel and in Marvel Universe proper, that was an event whereby Thanos had basically captured the Infinity Gems and then placed the gems on his glove, which basically made the glove an Infinity Gauntlet. Of course, anything can really be an Infinity Gauntlet, but nonetheless, that was the basis behind this story. The motivation of Thanos during this story was to gain absolute power, but to also impress Mistress Death. Now, when the Infinity Gauntlet event happened and the cosmic entities came together to appeal to the Living Tribunal to stop Thanos, the Living Tribunal chose not to act. And the reason why, according to the Living Tribunal, was because Thanos was simply just usurping the role of Eternity, the highest ranking member of the cosmic entities. If Eternity was unable to maintain his position as the absolute authority within the confines of Earth 616, then this was just the natural order of things. Eternity would be replaced by a being who could. Now, at the end of Infinity Gauntlet, when Adam Warlock had attained the Infinity Gauntlet proper, we found the Living Tribunal did choose to step in. And the reason why is because where Thanos wanted to simply attain absolute power, Thanos had an understanding of the concepts of life and death. He understood what it meant to live and what it meant to die. Adam Warlock did not have this concept. Adam Warlock was a being that was created, but over the course of his life, he had demonstrated, I guess, in multiple instances, that he didn't really understand the value of life. And so Adam Warlock would have most likely led to the ruin of the Marvel Universe or the Earth 616 universe proper without really understanding what it was that he was doing. And so as a result, the Living Tribunal had forced Adam Warlock to disperse the Infinity Gauntlet and to ensure the Infinity Gauntlet was never brought back together again. Now, of course, we saw the Infinity Gauntlet was restored, and there are various stories that tie into that, but we're not going to get into it. Now, in terms of the origin of the Earth 616 proper, this origin story is given to us in several ways. There are several stories that tell us what the origin is, but the story that I choose to use is the story that was unfolded in Thor issues number 169 through 170. And what this does is it serves two purposes. The first purpose is to effectively give us the origin of the Earth 616 universe, but the other thing it does is it gives us the origin of Galactus. And so for those of you guys who haven't seen my video about Galactus, I think you'll find this portion of the video particularly interesting. What we know is that there was a universe prior to the Earth 616 universe, and that as that universe was beginning to come to an end, as it was facing its imminent destruction, a man named Galen was trying to find a way to stop it, but ultimately he was unsuccessful. And so as that universe began to die, the consciousness of the entire universe in the form of that universe's eternity and the Phoenix Force bonded themselves with Galen. And so when the Earth 616 universe came into existence as a result of the destruction of the previous universe, Galen was born into the Earth 616 universe as Galactus. And of course, we know what the history of Galactus, he consumes worlds for energy, so on and so forth. But that is the origin story that I choose to follow. There are others. There are other origin stories based on different events, different circumstances. But again, this is the one that I sort of prefer here. Now, what we know, or I guess what was established with regards to Warren Ellis and the 6-issue limited series, New Universal, was the idea of the SuperFlow. One of the questions that a lot of people had who had been reading Marvel Comics for quite some time, although it really wasn't one of the biggest questions they had, was if a person uses telepathy, what happens? Do the thoughts go directly into the minds of another person? Or is there some form of medium? Is there some place those thoughts go before they reach the person? That was what Warren Ellis answered with New Universal. He created the idea of the SuperFlow. The SuperFlow is this concept that exists. And of course, the SuperFlow exists in each universe. That is to say, there is a SuperFlow for every universe. But the SuperFlow, as it's explained to us, is this place where all ideas, all concepts originate from. The SuperFlow is a place where people go to when they dream. Whenever a person dreams of the Marvel Universe and they have all these different thoughts rambling through their head, that's the SuperFlow. When a person uses telepathy and they speak into the mind of another, the thoughts leave the mind of the person performing telepathy, they travel through the SuperFlow, and they end up in the mind of the person that's having telepathy performed on. And so I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense. I'm kind of hoping it does, but that's the entire basis behind the SuperFlow. Now, after the creation or the introduction of the Earth 616 universe, we saw the very first sentient race to ever exist. The very first sentient race to ever exist was a race called the Builders. Now, we don't really have a particular name for them aside from the Builders. That's just kind of how they're referred to. But again, because they were the very first race to exist, there came a point in their evolution whereby they had reached their peak. They had reached the point at which they considered what they were to be, total perfection. They were at this point where they believed they couldn't go any further. And so their goal was to effectively spread this perfection throughout all existence. And so what the Builders did is, in the SuperFlow itself, they basically established these sort of communication devices. Think of them as basically satellites, more or less. These satellites all across the multiverse will communicate with each other. But what will happen is that when any one particular race inside a universe reaches a point whereby it's ready to step into its next stage of evolution, these satellites will send out a white event, or it'll create a white event and a white signal. The result is that individuals, as part of that race that's ready to step into its next stage of evolution, will be given powers. That 9 of these individuals will be chosen, and they will be the arbiters. They will be the people who will basically help this race step into its next stage of evolution, kind of a gradual introduction to what that race is capable of. Now, 9 people, 9 different powers are given, so to speak. They represent 9 facets, but for the sake of our discussion, we're only going to focus on 2. The first is Night Mask, and the second is the Star Brand. Now, again, these concepts had existed in Marvel Comics long before Jonathan Hickman's run, but what Jonathan Hickman did is he took these concepts and he rolled them all in together, and he created this really in-depth and really rich concept in the realm of Marvel Comics. Now, I hope this all makes sense. I hope this all kind of comes together to give you an idea in terms of where we stand right now. But again, we'll focus on Starbrand and we'll focus on Night Mask in their own separate videos, because they're going to be extremely important as we get towards the close of Time Runs Out. But again, the purpose of this video was just to give you guys an idea of the basis behind the Marvel Universe, of where we stand with everything, so that we can get into Time Runs Out proper and you guys can have a good foundation for what it is that we're talking about. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and bring this video to an end. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, let me know, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.